talk about Quality Street, we have an absolutely jam-packed confection of Welsh legends here. I have been a fan for years and years and years, and I now am honoured to think of you as a friend. James Dean Bradfield, how the devil are you? Merry Christmas.
Oh, how are you, Michael? I'm probably more akin to a kind of Christmas box of Rebels, you know, that coffee one that nobody wants to have.
Are you the last little chocolate in the box,
I am.
James?
I'm the last little coffee one.
You are never anyone's last chocolate in the box. You are my strawberry cream, James.
I've never been called somebody's strawberry cream before.
Well, that's my Christmas gift to you. Listen, you've had an extraordinary year this year. I mean, it's been an extraordinary year for everyone, of course. But, I mean, even by the Manic standards, this has been an extraordinary year. Number one album, first in 23 years, is that right?
Certainly was, yeah. I mean, I think we had the record for most number two albums of anybody, but we finally got there this year. And I got to say, we're old school. We still set a lot of store by kind of that kind of number one success. And that was our fourth number one. And you know, we've had 2 number one singles and 2 number one albums and lots of number twos. And we're still competitive enough, sadly, for it to matter to us. So it did feel like an amazing thing. And we couldn't have thanked, you know, our fans more than we did every night when we went on tour. It was a great feeling.
Well, and aside from that, also those amazing gigs that you did back in September, was it, for the NHS, the free one for the NHS workers, and then the fundraising one. What was that like?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, I think after the dust settled from those 2 gigs, I think the main thing that came to the surface from it, the main positive vibes we took from those gigs was that so many people were prepared to help us to put those gigs on so that we could make all that money. So many people were prepared to work for less money to make those gigs happen. So many people knew that it wasn't going to be one of our usual shows, but they bought the tickets because they knew that the money was going to go to the charities, and they knew that the one night was for just NHS workers. So when you saw everybody pitching in and helping us to put those gigs on so we could raise that money and put on a bit of a party night for NHS workers, it just showed that collective spirit was still there. It was still working. That collective spirit was still there to tap into, which really was gratifying. And there's one thing I'd like to say at the end of all that. I think when you do something charitable like that, you've always got to promise to tell people where all their money's gone to. Yeah. And their money went to the Cardiff and Vale Health Board and Trust, Velindre Health Board and Trust. And I don't know if they know yet, but a lot of their money went to an Iron Bevan Health Board and Trust as well. Fantastic. So I think you've always got to tell people where their money goes, and that's where all their money went.
Absolutely, yes. Fantastic. Now, there was also the Duets album, of course, and I've got a bone to pick with you here. Now, because this album is celebrating the best duets you've done, I was very disappointed to not see me singing very loudly and tunelessly along with the specially adapted Design for Life that you did for The Passion in Port Talbot. Now, why was I not on there, James?
Well, we've talked about this before. We managed not to edit your voice out when we mixed it. Your voice, look, the sonorous tones of your voice could, they could move mountains. When you speak, you could move mountains. But when you sing, you could drive rivers. When you sing, you could drive rivers.
You smash windows. Well, listen, I'm prepared.
And I remember one of my aunties said to me, "Oh, you've let your voice go, haven't you?" And I was like, "It wasn't my voice. It was his."
Well, look, I'm prepared to forgive you because of what you've done this year for us. This is an incredibly special thing. You've recorded a new song, a new Christmas song, specially for this program. Is that right?
Yes, we did. Yeah. When you kind of got in contact and said, would we do something for the show? Nicky Wire, in the band, had the great idea of us trying to set music to an R.S. Thomas poem, because R.S. Thomas, wrote quite a lot of Christmas poems, and so we chose one of them, and it worked perfectly because a lot of R.S. Thomas's poems sometimes read like some of our lyrics, perhaps, because Nicky Wire is a massive fan of his. Yeah. I think he has the same mindset in terms of turning the critical eye upon things sometimes. So yeah, it felt like a really good fit, and it was that's my idea of fun. taking a poem which is slightly not misanthropic in tone, but questioning, turning its analytical gaze upon humanity and trying to turn it into something a bit more uplifting is my idea of a good time.
Yeah. Well, when you sent me the poem, it's Christmas Eve by R.S. Thomas. And when I read it, I for a moment thought you were having me on and that Nicky had actually written that poem, because it's so Manics. I mean, it has such a hard, steely edge to it, but also this extraordinary kind of vulnerability and sensitivity in there as well. And the way you've set it to music, I think it's an absolute classic already. I think it's absolutely gorgeous.
That's all I can say is I had a good time doing it, because when you present with words that you feel as if, they raise the bar, you don't want to let the words down with the music that you write to it. So we just had a good time doing it.
Yeah.
And we wanted to kind of, it's nice for me, Christmas is always about shutting the doors and the food I used to have with my mum and dad. And it's nice to actually perhaps try and drag Christmas away from the shops sometimes, shall we say.
Yeah. Well, let's have a listen to it now. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a very special moment. This is Christmas Eve, written by R.S. Thomas and the Manic Street Preachers.
Erect Capitol's arch, decorated with the gilt edge of the moon. Pave the way to it with checks and with credits, with checks and with credits. It is still not high enough for the child to pass under. Who comes to us this midnight, invisible as radiation, invisible as radiation. Capitol's arch, decorated with the gilt edge of the moon. Pave the way to it with checks and with credit.
Christmas Eve by the Manic Street Preachers from an R.S. Thomas poem. It's an overcast, grey, slushy street corner with a few Sally Army players, isn't it?
It is a melancholically defeated Sally Army trumpet player, definitely.
Yeah. Oh, it's absolutely fantastic. I mean, it feels like it wasn't that long ago you said you were going to have a go at this, and for that to be what you came up with, what was the process like?
same as it always is. It's really strange, and it's kind of nice that you asked that, because the process of like, well, no, just the experience of writing songs, for the Manics has always been, come on, Nick, Richey, give me some words, because I need words to inspire the music. And I became a scourge in their lives, because I love writing music to words. And so I was always asking them for words, and they're more than pleased to give them. And it was the same with this, Nick and Richey would give me words, and I go, wow, I couldn't ask for more. It starts from the title, Motorcycle Emptiness. What a great title. It just sets your imagination off straight away. And then we went searching for an R.S. Thomas poem, and Nick gave me his Christmas poems. And it's the same experience. The words are in front of you, and you see a line like, as invisible as radiation. Yeah. And you just go, well, that's it. I'm off. Some of his titles are like prog rock. Kind of like titles, Laboratories of the Spirit is an R.S. Thomas collection. That's like a Rush prog rock, concept album title. So that's it. You're away and you're flying. As long as you've got good words in front of you, like I've had all my band life with Nick and Richey, and Nick obviously for so long now. As long as you've got good words in front of you, you've got a good chance of doing something good in the band.
Christmas in Blackwood. What was it like? What are your memories of Christmas growing up in Blackwood?
Well, number one, if I said to you Christmas in Port Talbot, would you be a stickler for detail and say, well, I'm actually not Port Talbot, I'm a mile up the road?
Yeah, maybe.
Because I was a mile up the road. I was a mile down the road. I'm from Fife. So, but yeah, Blackwood for me was the bright lights in big city. It was Woolworths, and it was the record shop and everything. It was going to the Square Cafe, for kind of like, just milky coffee and toast. And then at Christmas, they would like have tea cakes that they would slice and toast for you. And they would be like, there would be a strange flavored ice cream in there with just raisins in and a bit of rum for Christmas.
Oh, that's like Christmas. Rum and raisin.
That is Christmas. Oh. It is Christmas. And also, I think suddenly, I don't know, the valleys in Christmas for me equates with suddenly just burger stalls appearing everywhere and the smell of fried onions. You just can't escape it, kind of thing. Yeah. So for me, that's where it was. It was going to Woolworths, and Woolworths being stacked and being a public health hazard because things are nearly falling off the shelves because everything is so stacked to the rafters.
Were you like me? Would you, at Christmas time when I was growing up, it was a bumper time for stuff on the telly because there would be things on like at obscure times like 8 o'clock in the morning or, 2 in the morning or something. Really things that you would never see usually through the rest of the year. Do you remember anything like that you watched?
Charlie Brown.
Charlie Brown.
Yeah, Charlie Brown. Because I think there are about 6 to 8 Charlie Brown Christmas specials that I've seen. And I started seeing them when I was around 10. And Charlie Brown wasn't on for the rest of the year. From the age of 10, I really started realising that Charlie Brown, he was my man. Yeah. He was the one that I had more in common with than anybody else. Kind of always failing.
Always trying to kick that ball.
Always only having my dog for company to talk to sometimes.
Yeah.
The Charlie Brown Christmas special was the thing I got really, really excited about.
And that Vince Guaraldi trio music in the background always. Beautiful.
Yes, it is. Yeah, I've always, that was my first notion of what jazz was. And the Vince Guaraldi kind of like, Charlie Brown stuff. And then you associate that with people shopping in New York and stuff. It's really strange.
It's got such a kind of vibe to it, that music, isn't it? The kind of laid back sort of, it's like the sound of slush.
It's the sound of slush, but it's the sound of walking along with your own thoughts and not being able to escape them as well. That's what I like about that music, But it's, for me, Christmas really is about. It was about discovering Charlie Brown specials. It was about my family getting 3 meats, and our Alan Partridge plates would come out at Christmas, especially big plates for Christmas dinner. So you'd have to go through the brisket, the capon. We didn't have turkey, we had a capon, and lamb.
Are you a medieval peasant, James?
Well, I sound more like a medieval knight, if you don't mind.
Yes, that's true. Are you a good King Wenceslas?
We'd have brisket, lamb and capon, and then everything would be on top, and you'd have to get through all the vegetables and the parsnips and the pigs and blackens to get to the meat. My parents would close the doors on Christmas Eve, and if somebody knocked on the door between the 24th and the 20th of December, we'd all look at each other and go, who the hell is that?
Who the hell is that? I tell you what,
times, lots of food, and that's it.
If I discover how to time travel, I'm time traveling back to your house at Christmas then. Capons and brisket. Oh my God, it sounds amazing. Listen, before I say goodbye, what's lined up for next year, for 2022, for you and the Manics?
Hopefully a bit less complication. I think that the thing that surprised us this year was that everybody wanted to be back on the road. Everybody kept thinking it was going to be like this Hollywood moment where the crowd ignites and you just go, we're back. Things were a bit more complicated than that because, of course, you were observing stuff all the time when you were playing gigs and sometimes people weren't turning up. So I would hope for next year to be a bit more, I would hope the gigs would feel a bit freer than they were this year. Yeah. But we got lots of festivals to do this summer, and hopefully things will feel a bit freer by then. And we've started writing again, and perhaps that kind of a prog rock R.S. Thomas concept album might come to fruition. There's a little side project.
Well, I tell you what, whether you like it or not, I'm in for that.
No, you are in. Don't worry about it.
Oh, listen, have a great rest of your Christmas and a fantastic New Year, James. It's great to speak to you, and see you soon.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you. Cheers.
All the best. Ta-da.
Cheers.